Okay. Oh. Got it. Share screen. Share sound. Got it. Share screen. Okay. Oh, it's wrong. Let me turn to me. Okay, I'm here. I'm sorry, my screen looks weird, but we're here and I think we're live. Are we?
Yeah, it looks like we are. It looks like your screen's still on though.
What, I'm still screen sharing?
Yeah.
Oh. You're right. That's what the problem is. Okay.
Okay.
One of these days we'll get it right.
Yeah.
I'll get it right. Okay. So, hi everybody. Welcome to our Chippy Chicks broadcast for April 24th. Tonight we have a special guest host. Melanie Ting isn't able to be here tonight, so we invited another hockey romance author to join us. Welcome to Victoria Deneau. Hi.
You said that right.
So Victoria, tell us just a little bit about yourself and your books.
I'm a Canadian author, and I write small town contemporary and sports romance. I have 11 hockey books, hockey romance specifically. I have one F1 romance book, but my hockey romance books are called Hometown Players is the series, or San Francisco Thunder, or I have one book in Serena Bowen's Moo You world as well. That's me.
Awesome. And you are in France.
Currently, yes.
And it's like the middle of the night there.
Yes. Yeah. 2 a.m.
2 a.m. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And it's so fun to have a guest to join us this time.
Well, I was excited to talk hockey because we don't do that much in France. So
yeah, I guess not. Probably not as much.
No.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk hockey and romance hockey romance for the next hour or so. It's just about playoff time in the NHL. I think the playoffs start May 2nd. There's something really weird happening with the Jets, which is, I mean, we'll get to who's in the playoffs and who's not in the playoffs, but they had to cancel one of the Jets games because of weather a couple of weeks ago. And so they're playing the makeup game on May 1st. Like everybody else is done. Both teams are out of the playoffs, but they're playing the game on May 1st. It's so bizarre. But I guess they have to. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Victoria, who's your team that you cheer for?
Oh, I'm not an annoying fan that has multiple teams.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. I'm a born and bred Montrealer, so the Habs are my go-to. But I lived in Vancouver for 13 years and I love the Canucks. I lived in LA for 7 years. I love the Kings. I've always loved Pittsburgh, like just always, and I know. I love Claude Giroux too, but now I don't have to worry. Yeah, basically I just follow players who've won Canada a gold medal. And I love them. That's what it comes down to.
Sure.
I get that.
Yeah.
So I think Montreal is out.
Oh God, yes. Oh God, yes.
But I think Vancouver still has a chance, maybe?
I think they did.
Snowball.
Vancouver.
Yeah.
Did they play today already?
I'm not sure.
they're on the cusp, but they won't make it, I'm sure. And if they do, they'll be out in the first round. I sorry, Melanie, but yeah, that's what they do best. So
I think she probably wouldn't argue with you. Okay, Stacy, how about you?
I am a born and bred Ranger fan, wearing a Buffalo Buttes shirt today. But after the letter from a couple of years ago and some changes, a new coach, and some amazing players from all over the league, including a couple from Winnipeg, we made it into the playoffs. Thank God. We will see how long the team stays in. We will see what happens, because anything can happen with this team. We have a goalie who is standing on his head in Igor Shesterkin, and
Yeah.
a whole bunch of, wild cards. So we'll see. Who knows? But we're in. So yay.
And Andrew Kopp is doing really well.
He is. Oh my God. Like now that he's back with Trouba, like seeing them play together, seeing like the joy in that locker room makes me just really, really happy. So it's just really, really nice to see. And I thank you, Kelly, because the Jets have done amazing over the last couple of years, and it's been fun to watch the whiteout during the playoffs. This year I'm excited for something blue. So
No whiteout this year.
Well, there is, but it's not inside the arena.
Yeah, right. Okay, Fortune, how about your team?
Well, Calgary Flames are
Woo!
in.
Yeah.
I'm getting all the updates. So we've got a few 40 goal scorers. It's exciting. I'm excited. I haven't been excited in a few years. Probably like 17 years. I am now. And it's fun. I saw Edmonton got in last night, so we'll see how that plays out. When I was doing research this morning, and they said, so the Eastern Conference is all set. They've got their top 8, but there's 5 teams looking for 3 spots right now in the West, including Vancouver and LA. So that'll be exciting. And they're making a run. Like LA, Vegas, and Vancouver all had 6 wins in the last 10 games. So it's going to be an exciting week. I wasn't excited. I have to tell you the truth. I wasn't excited until I started looking up stats, and I was like, why am I not watching right now? So I will do that, because I'm still looking for reasons to procrastinate doing my edits.
yeah.
Oh, hockey games are the best procrastination.
Aren't they? Research.
Yeah.
Research. It's all research. Exactly. And Danica?
Well, my team
Team's
is out. So this is what I normally do. Once my team is out, I'll just be like, oh, that guy used to play for the Flyers, so I'll root for that team. So I'll root for the Canes because of Brittamore, and Justin Williams was on the team for a while. So I would root for them. So I want the Panthers to win because I want G to win a cup. So I'm really, I'll probably watch them.
Didn't you predicted them right at the start?
Yes, and I predicted it sarcastically, on our first episode, Victoria, we did wild predictions. And I was like, do you guys know who Jillian Fisher was? And they're like, yeah, we know who she was. And she did a wild prediction about the Panthers winning the cup, because she's like, I just think it'd be funny because another Florida team, because you don't think Florida and hockey. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to go with that. And now they have my old captain, and they're really good. So, it's just weird. It's weird. Their team is good, but they can't fill their stadium. So it's it's weird.
Yeah.
It's very different. But yeah. So that's what
My team's out too. So
Yeah.
like I said, no whiteout this year, sadly. It's really, I'm not super surprised, but
me neither.
But after you make it to the playoffs for a few years, it's really disappointing. It's really a letdown. And that whiteout is so much fun and so exciting. And anyway, so if my team is out, I always try. I mean, I don't know how much I'll watch actually. Like it'd probably be good for me to not watch and do some writing. But as the playoffs move along, I'll probably start watching when they get closer to the final, and I'll watch the final, whoever ends up in it. But I try to figure out who to cheer for, and I always, if my team's not in it, I'm going to cheer for whoever the Canadian teams are that are still in it. And then when they're out, I try to figure out who else I'll cheer for, and it's always, like Victoria said, players that have gotten Canada gold medal. So I have cheered for Sidney Crosby's team in the playoffs, and I've cheered for the Blackhawks in the playoffs, and because Jonathan Toews is from Winnipeg, so that's another, there's like a little connection there, so I'll cheer for his team. So how do you guys all, if your team's out, who do you cheer for? How about you, Victoria?
It depends on who's playing who.
Yeah.
It's like a game of Survivor, like I vote one of them off the island, but it's basically comes down to anybody but Boston is what it comes down to.
Oh, so Boston's your team that like.
Yeah. People think who don't live in Montreal that like the big rivalry is like the Habs and the Leafs because they're both Canadian, but the Leafs have never in my lifetime been an actual threat. Like, so it's always been Boston. You just hate them. And then I lived in Vancouver and wrote for the Canucks hockey blog during the cup run there. So another reason to hate Boston. I just hate Boston. So anybody but Boston.
Anybody but Boston.
I don't think I ever root for them either. Like, I don't feel like animosity to them the way that I do for the Devils and the Pens, but I will, like, I just like don't really care. Like, I'm like, yeah, I don't want them to win. So you had enough.
Fortune, who do you cheer for if your team's out, or do you even watch if your team's out?
So when my team, sorry, I did have an answer for this. Oh, so I was just thinking about how the Maple Leafs are in this year. So when the Flames, I'm not going to say when the Flames, if the Flames are out this year, I'm going to try to root for Toronto, see how far they go, because that's just kind of a fun thing to do. And then usually, like, I probably don't watch anymore until the final. A few, during the Vancouver Cup run with Boston, we were in Montreal watching, what's it called? Tennis. And my nephew had come up. So he is a Pens fan. He was a very small child. He was a Pens fan, but then Boston won. And then he like jumped the Boston bandwagon. And then he was wearing his Boston Bruins hat all over Montreal. And my husband and my husband, and then my brother-in-law, his dad were just like, oh my God, we're going to get a fight. Yeah, because it was like very small child. I think he must have been like 8 or 10 at the time. Like he had no idea, but very proud.
Stacy, who do you cheer for if your team's out?
So I do a calculus every single time. I watch all the way through because I find it amazing just to watch. I don't like Tampa. This New Yorker has actually been known to root for Boston when they play Tampa. I usually like the Hurricanes, but this year there are questions in the Hurricanes lineup that I have, despite the fact that the only player from my hometown is actually still plays for the Hurricanes. So it's like, do I want those people, who do I want to raise the cup, basically, is the calculus. Definitely not Tampa, definitely not those people in Carolina. So they're okay, but who are they playing? Okay, they're playing Pittsburgh. Excellent, go Carolina. Like for 5 minutes, I can put away my animosity for certain players and like not, we'll see how far the Rangers go, but this, but we'll see what happens. As I said, energy, I can't, sometimes it's hard to root for the Capitals. I have, as I said, for every team, there is a question. Like,
Yeah.
Who got rid of who, who are the players I don't like, who's got good energy, and who do I feel comfortable rooting for?
It would have been great. I used to do a loser pool during the hockey playoffs, and Sean Sean's always like, you're always rooting for people to lose. That's so nice.
Well, I guess it's next week that they start, so I guess we'll see what happens.
You know, should we do a romance chicks like hockey pool?
Oh yeah. Chippy Chicks hockey pool. Well, I don't even have a prediction. I don't know. I don't even know for sure who's in and who's not. I think maybe I'll go with Florida too.
I know.
Because it's like, why not?
Yeah.
I'd be happy with Florida because I want Giroux to get a cup. So I'd be happy with that.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
That's what, like, as soon as he went to Florida, like most of the reasonable Flyers fan were like, go get that cup, like go do it, like, because he didn't deserve this organization.
Yeah, I like that.
People on Florida, I would like to see.
That's so funny, Danica, that you predicted that at the start of the season, and then
I
he
know.
wasn't getting traded there.
Yeah, and when we talked about like the trade, like we did the episode after like the trade deadline, I was like, do you remember when I made this prediction?
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, I think at the time I wasn't paying attention to like his contract or that he like was gonna waive his no move or anything like that. So I just like made it because I thought it was funny. We'll see.
We'll see. Okay, so let's move on and talk about. So I came across some stuff about this, and I thought it was kind of interesting because I really haven't given it much thought for a long time. And this is the 3-point game thing. So when they started awarding, okay, so it always used to be that in a tie game, each team got a point. Is that right?
Mhm.
Or 2 points? No,
Each
one
one
point.
point.
And then they changed it so that the winning team got 2 points and the losing team still got a point. So it's a 3-point game. And so I read this opinion about how it's ridiculous that more points are given out in some games than in others. Because like an outright win-lose is just 2 points, but a game that ends in a tie and then goes into overtime ends up with 3 points. And it could be seen as a way that encourages team to play it safe and keep the game close instead of trying to win outright. I'll get your thoughts about that. I guess, so what do you guys all think about that? Like in some ways you can look at it as, well, is it one team loses a point or is it one team gains a point? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
When the game ends in regulation, the winning team gets 2 points, the loser gets nothing. But if game goes into overtime, it magically becomes worth 3 points. The winner gets 2 points and the loser now gets 1. You get a point for losing. Like, does that make sense? What do you think, Stacey?
So here's what I mean. Watching games that end up in like overtime and that end up in shootouts, that end up tied. Like, I don't think I have ever seen a game where the team stops fighting. Like I don't think I've ever seen a game where a team plays for a tie. No one plays for a tie. No one wants a tie, right? Like, so whereas, what's the difference between, it's no one, so it's a different circumstance, and I don't necessarily think that like people on purpose play for that 1 point. I think it's a team that loses a point, not one that gains one. Like,
Yeah.
You could, just as easily 5 seconds, less like 2 point, like 0.3 seconds before the buzzer ends, you get a goal and the game's over. If that doesn't happen, the reason it doesn't happen is because the other team is fighting. Like they're fighting hard to not lose the game. And I think it's a different situation. So, as I said, one team loses a game. So that's why it's this rate. It doesn't bother me.
What do you think, Danica?
It doesn't bother me. The Flyers suck at shootouts, so like it's really like as soon as we go to the shootout, I know we're losing the game. So like this is a very Philly thing, but we'll just be like, oh, at least we got a point. Like, so for me, I've never really like thought about it. I don't think I really like knew that the other team got 2. I don't think I really paid attention to that, but yeah, I don't think it really bothered me. And like, I don't think teams are throwing games like this to get an extra point to go into overtime. I don't really feel like that's happening. Like, I'm not seeing that. I mean, the Flyers have given up, but that's usually when they're like 4 down 4. I've seen that, but that's like a different like.
And what do you think about a team getting a point for losing?
Well, my team needs it, so I'll take it.
Yeah, I get that because that's what happens a lot with the Jets too. It's like, well, at least we got a point.
Yeah, like, oh well, we got a point. Like we still lost, but we got a point, so it's okay. Like
what do you think about that, Fortin?
It was the same thing that Stacey said, because it's not like you're fighting all the way till the end. And I think if you make it to the out of regulation and you didn't lose, I think that just does deserve the point. And then
that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. Because they made it out of regulation. They made it to the end of the game without losing. So they get the, we used to call it the loser point. I don't know if you guys still call it that. And then, what's it called? And it makes the overtime exciting instead of just like 5 minutes of people like passing the puck back and forth between blue lines. Like you still get to see a game and with a win. So I do like it. As somebody who's been to like many hockey games, there was definitely a marked difference between like, oh, it's an overtime and everyone leaving 2 minutes before the game ended versus like staying all the way through the end of the shootout.
Yeah. How about you, Victoria?
I feel like I don't consider it like a point for losing. I feel like you get the point because you made it to the end of regulation without losing, more like that. And then if you win in the overtime or the shootout, you get the additional point. Like it doesn't bother me. Shootouts in general bother me more than anything. I just hate them. I wish they would just keep making them play periods until somebody scored, because like they do in playoffs. Like I love that. I know that they probably don't want to play like 5 extra periods, but I love it. So I don't like shootouts, and I especially hate it at the Olympic level. That makes me insane. But yeah, I don't have a problem with the extra point because I feel like nobody lost the actual regulation game, so they both get a point. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Or that's great to hear your guys' perspectives, because I was kind of like, I don't know what to think about this. I don't know, when you think about it as like getting a point for losing, it kind of doesn't make sense. But then when you think about it as they get a point because they made it to the end of regulation time and didn't lose, okay, so that deserves a point. And then the team that wins gets 2. I agree. I don't like shootouts. I do like the 3-on-3. Like that's some fun, exciting hockey sometimes. Lots of action. So I guess they're not going to be changing it anytime soon, but it was just an interesting discussion that I saw, and I was kind of thinking like, interesting. And I guess maybe it made sense when they changed that, because there were so many games that were ending in ties. But now with the 3-on-3 and the shootout, the game's not going to end in a tie. So, yeah, interesting. Okay, what else we got to talk about this week? So we had talked about the Kyle Beach incident at some length in one of our prior sessions, and this past week, I think the NHLPA report came out on that thing, and basically said that there was nobody in the NHLPA that had really done anything wrong, and there's lots of talk about Don. No, I'm saying his name fair, but I'm not sure if that's how it's actually pronounced. That's the Manitoba way to say it. As head of the Players Association, and like, should he be stepping down, or is it time for him to go? I think one of the things we had talked about when we did have that discussion was how when Kyle Beach went to the Players Association, like, they're supposed to look after their players, and clearly they didn't look out for him. And I guess this report coming out and saying, well, you know, there wasn't really anybody that did anything wrong is kind of disappointing. What do you think about non-fair fortune?
Well, I looked up a couple of articles when I was preparing for this, and so the report said Beach's warnings about Aldridge were not addressed on account of miscommunication and misunderstanding rather than any individual or systemic failure. So the report concluded that any individual wrongdoing or institutional failures of policy or procedure by the NHLPA Executive Director Don Fair, NHLPA personnel, or the program responding to Beach's report cannot be identified. And that to me means that like the same thing is just happening again. Do you know what I mean? That makes sense?
Yeah.
So they quoted Elliot Friedman, and he says, "I'm not a lawyer and I don't know the full extent of the reporting, but I don't understand how anyone can claim that there wasn't any systemic failure here." And so generally everyone in the media is kind of saying the same thing. Now, I don't know Donald Fair, and I'm also not a legal expert, but if I, as a person, felt like I failed somebody, I would say, you know what? I didn't do everything I could, so maybe this isn't the position for me, or I need to go do something else right now.
Victoria? Do you have more fortune? Sorry.
No, that's just how I feel about it. I think he's hiding behind the ruling is what's happening.
You have any thoughts, Victoria?
I've never liked him ever since they were last on strike. I just don't like him. But there was a quote that was given to explain how he was, how he's not responsible. And it said, given that Fair's background as a lawyer, he would have known to act upon serious allegations had they been communicated to him. Because they apparently went through all his back emails and everything and didn't find him mentioning it at all, like to the level that there was an actual sexual assault, like threat, or that he was a predator of any kind, this guy. And my problem with that is, and maybe I'm just really pessimistic, but the man's a lawyer, yeah, and he's been doing this kind of stuff forever, so he knows exactly what not to put in an email too. Do you know what I mean? He knows not to leave a paper trail if he's not going to handle something. So I don't think that exonerates him. There's just like, it's like Fortune said, there's absolutely no way that you can allow that to happen under your roof and not take accountability. You just have to. So.
Yeah, good point. What are your thoughts, Stacey?
I absolutely agree 1000% with what both Fortune and Victoria had said. And my reaction to the quote about Fair being an attorney and is exactly what Victoria said. Exactly. Like, I am not an attorney, disclaimer, I am not an attorney. I only have a law school degree. I have not passed any bar exams, and I am not qualified to make any legal judgments, but I am telling you from my own personal experience as a person, as a human who has sat in the law school classroom, you do not make a paper trail. You learn very quickly what can and cannot be used in evidence in a court of law, and you do not create it. You do not take any steps to create it. If you think something is going on and if you think something is going wrong, the last thing you're going to want to do is write it down.
Yeah.
He should no longer. Now, whether his removal would actually do anything, because you think about you think about what he represents, not just the players union, but like who's, who else is who else are going to get in their place, who, his place, is this person going to be committed to change, etc. Do I think he should be removed? However, yes. But we should absolutely watch to make sure that if he does get removed, that this should not be used as a way to say, okay, we got rid of fair, this is done. Like, no.
Right. Right. Okay, I get what you're saying. Like, not just remove him, but also make some changes for the better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Internally and externally.
Danica?
Well, for one, they released the report at 4 p.m. on a Friday, and not only a normal
Oh.
Friday, on Good Friday, which is a holiday, and most people are probably not paying attention.
And oh yeah,
So-
that's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's one thing. Is I thought that was kind of crappy how they did that, and I think Wish like tweeted that, like, hey, you tweeted this out like at 4 p.m. on Good Friday,
Right.
which means a lot of people are probably not paying attention. So it's almost like they were trying to sweep it under the rug. And I feel like that report is kind of what they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Sounds like kind of we're all in agreement about that. And like, and I forget who exactly said it, but the whole, like, if you're at the top of that organization and something that bad has gone wrong, you need to be accountable for that. So yeah, it's kind of disappointing. He's been around for a long time though. I don't even know how long, but
Yeah.
Too
a
long.
long time, right? Like, and he's one of those old boys,
Mhm.
like the NHL management is. So
Also, the head of the baseball players union before he came over to hockey, if memory serves, like wasn't he like involved somehow with baseball? So like he's been, if memory serves, like
So he's like a career guy in this.
right.
Like sports management.
Do you ever wonder, because when I was reading up on this, it made me think, I wonder how different this would have been handled had there been a woman in the position.
Mm,
Because it's not like we haven't dealt with this our whole lives, right? Like to some degree. So I just,
yeah. Right. Interesting. And now there are getting to be women in management positions.
yeah, thankfully.
Yeah. Right.
the
Yeah.
executive director of the Major League Baseball Players Association from 1983 to 2009. This is a career guy.
Holy,
Yeah. Well, we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens with that. What else can we talk about? Let's see. Okay, one more thing we can talk about quickly before we move on to a new regular feature that we're going to start doing is, well, I put it on our thing as Austin Matthews, but it's kind of more about like how many goals can a player score in a season realistically? Like, I mean, he's not gonna go crazy this season, but the fact that he's been doing so well is making people ask, it's like, what's the, like, how many can people really score? So when you look back in history, it's like, it used to be like a 60 goal season was amazing. And there's 12 players, I guess, that have had 65 goal seasons. That's like Ovechkin, Lemieux, Gretzky, Mike Bossy, Brad Hall, Larry McDonald, Teemu Selanne, Steve Yzerman. So that's 65. Now Gretzky's got a pretty big record. How many goals? I thought I just had that somewhere. 92 goals in a season. That's the record. But that was set in the highest scoring season of the modern era, 1981-82, which is funny because we were talking last month about why are there so many high scoring games this season? It seems like it's kind of going back that way. Things are swinging back to like all these crazy goals. That year there were 8.02 goals per game. Today's standard, do I have that? 6.24 goals per game. which is high. Apparently it's highest it's been since 95, 96, not in like the 80s, but I guess that's what's helping Matthews kind of score all those goals. So maybe next year, what do you think, Danica? Do you think he can score? How many goals can he score in a season? How many goals can anybody score in a season?
I don't really know, because I feel like this is not something I pay attention to. Like,
Well,
to be honest, like I hear about it. I know, like, I think Scott Lawton gave Ovi some like crap about like him like still like going in, because like he's like, oh, like let your like fourth liners actually play. And like I was like, who cares if
yeah.
like aren't in it? So why do we even care? But yeah, I don't really pay attention that much to even know.
Do you think next year he could do the 65? Probably.
Austin or Ovi?
Yeah, Austin Matthews.
I don't know.
He missed some games this season too.
Yeah.
And
We're
I
saying
think,
Ovi, I think he definitely can do it, because he's just a powerhouse.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't know if Austin. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Not sure though.
What do you think, Stacy?
So Chris Kreider has actually made it over 50 goals this year, which is a surprise for everybody, like following his career. Do I think Austin Matthews can make 60? Yeah. I mean, like the article that I'm looking at right now said that the last person to have a 60 goal season was Steven Stamkos in 2011, 2012.
Mm.
So I definitely think that
That was a while ago.
yeah. Do I think Matthews can do it? Absolutely. You know, like it's been a really, really great season to see like people breaking their sort of molds in terms of like what people expected of their careers, like how, you know, how certain players are excelling beyond what we expected them to. It's really, really nice to see. But yes, I think more than 60, who knows? It would be nice to see it, but like it's been a while, and like in an era where games are so close together, it's hard to sort of say like, you know,
Right.
how many,
Yeah.
you know, how many, you know, more than like say 60 to 70 goals per season. Like it's hard to say that, because, you know, once you have those back-to-back games, or like, you know, you're exhausted, and like, can you actually do it? Who knows? But it's interesting, and it is interesting and fun to see. So
It still doesn't really answer our question that we were talking about. It's like, why are they scoring so many goals? But anyway, any thoughts about that, Victoria?
Why they're scoring that many goals?
Yeah.
If it's on Montreal, it's because their goalies suck. I don't. If it's on the Vancouver Canucks in Luongo era, it's because the goalie sucks. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Because it got to the point when they were like, the goalie's equipment's so big, it's getting harder to score. And then it became like, people in Gretzky's era, he always had his guys protecting him, like he had his Messier and whoever. So it was easier for them to just concentrate on scoring. None of that exists anymore. And the equipment for the goalies is still huge. So yeah, I have no idea why. And it feels like, and I'm kind of out of touch, because it's, again, unless I want to wake up at 3 a.m, really hard to watch all the games here. And I did for the playoffs last year, and that didn't work out. But I feel like this season is like full of a bunch of weird loopholes, and I have no idea why. Like, I don't know why the games are such high scoring games. I don't know why they're scoring so many. I don't know personally, also with these stats, I'm not a big fan of them in general. Like, you know, so-and-so scores 60 goals this season or 40 goals. I just, like, if Matthews gets to the playoffs, will he keep scoring? That's really what matters. Because we have Sedin twins who scored really well and worked really well together in Vancouver all the time. And then playoffs came and they both fell into comas every year. So I don't know, does it matter if he scores 50 or 60 goals in the regular season if the Maple Leafs are out in the first round? Like, you know what I mean? So I never care about those stats. They just don't. I'm like, show me the trophy. That's all that matters.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Fortune, what are your thoughts? Can Ovechkin, can Ovechkin or Matthews score more than 65 goals?
I think 65 might be a stretch. Because I think 65 was just like an insane number when it was last done. But two things. I think the Athletic jinxed Austin Matthews because he's been at 58 goals now since April 9th. So he hasn't scored a goal in his last 4 games.
What?
No. So he hasn't scored a goal in his last 4 games. And since they're in the playoffs, they're not like, if I'm the coach, I'm resting my players because I want to win. And to Victoria's point, like those last 2 goals aren't going to matter if he's not healthy in the playoffs. So that's number one. Number 2, I think I don't know who I had this conversation with, but they were, or if where I saw it, but they were saying it's the era of like the goaltender, you know, like the good goaltenders hasn't been around since Kiprusoff, and Kipper's been gone for like almost 10 years. They said he was the last real great like shootout goal or like goalie in terms of, you know, the close games. So I don't know if that's something you guys see, because like there isn't really like household name goalies anymore that I hear about. Could that be something?
Yeah, interesting.
I know Stacey looks like she made up thoughts.
Oh. Well, I think it depends, right? Like, I think there are some teams that are known for their goaltending and some are not, right? Like, it's not a consistent thing, and it's not like some teams go from like wonderful goaltenders to like really, really horrible ones the next year, and it's like you don't know. It's not.
Yeah, well, that's what we're saying. That was like the era of the great goaltender, like the goaltender that carries you through is not happening at the moment, because like there were the Kiprusoffs, the Luongos. I think like even Robin Lettner, I think he's the one right now, and he's not even playing right now, right? Like
Yeah.
I took us to the playoffs a couple years ago. Took us to years ago. But like, I mean, one of the things that people have been talking about is the candidacy for the MVP trophy. God, brain is not working today. League MVP. Whatever. And there's an MVP conversation going on, and it's Matthews. And one of the people in that conversation is Igor Shesterkin, which is interesting because when we talk about goaltenders and we talk about, you know, keeping teams in games, right, or like stealing games or things like that, like, and keeping people from scoring, like the question becomes like, how valuable is a goaltender to their team versus like someone like Matthews, who is scoring, who is, you know, doing everything he can outside of the goal net. And then you've got the goaltender who's like doing the rest. It's an interesting question and an interesting conversation. And I've been hearing a whole bunch about it, but yeah.
But do you remember when Luongo when he was like the team captain and people like hated that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I lived that.
Why did they hate it?
I don't know why they hated it.
It's just it's not supposed to happen for whatever reason. The goalie's supposed to be like this Switzerland on the team that isn't in. I don't know why, but everyone was furious. I personally have never been a Luongo fan, and that angers so many people. But I just like, and as she was saying, like, you know, you got do you need the scorers or do you need the goaltender stand on his head? Well, in the playoffs, you definitely need both, because like everyone will say it's not Luongo's fault that we lost the final like 8 whatever it was, but that meant because we didn't score. I think it was 8-0 even. Well, yeah, or maybe 8-1. I've blocked it out. But yeah, even if we were scoring, that means that Matthews character, whoever we have, that has to score 9. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you need both. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't want him as captain, but they didn't. No one. I don't think there's been another goalie that's been captain since either.
I don't think so. Yeah.
There were rumors,
Yeah.
expectations, but not necessarily actually, because there were actual Rangers captains at the time. But like people argued that like the actual captain in the room was Hank. So
I was gonna say, I'm also not a Luongo fan. And when they used to come play, or whenever Vancouver played and they would cheer for Luongo, they would say Lou, but it sounded like boo. And I just used to love it so much.
Yeah.
It does sound like boo.
Okay, let's so we're debuting a new sort of regular feature that we're gonna have where we each come up with what we think is, and we're not sure how to describe it, the wildest thing that happened in hockey in the last month, or the craziest thing, or the funnest thing, or the saddest thing, whatever. It's just something that sort of struck our interest and we're each going to talk about it. So let's start with Fortune.
Ooh, me. Okay. So my favorite thing. So the thing that I saw was on Instagram and Twitter was Marshawn Lynch doing donuts on the ice of the Kraken ice with the Zamboni. So, but the story behind, like, it was great press, honestly, because the story behind it is great. So him and Macklemore became minority owners in the hockey group. And so the committee executive is a lady with the last name Holloway. I can't remember her first name, but so Lynch plans to get involved with a franchise campaign called Hockey for Everyone, which is an initiative designed to bring more young fans from different backgrounds into hockey, while also playing an active role in the community. So Lynch is already serving a similar role with his like back home in Oakland with Family First Foundation, and also has another foundation with Denver Broncos quarterback Josh Johnson and Baltimore Ravens cornerback Marcus Peters, and they also work with underprivileged youth. So I think that's really great. And then also Macklemore, who I found out has the craziest name, like real name. So he also became a minority owner, and what he does is he does a lot of outreach because he is a Seattle native. So I think it's really great that you've got hometown heroes, even because, a lot of hockey players aren't coming out of Seattle, but to have those kind of faces going into the community they'll fill the stadiums. Like maybe Florida needs more of that, right? Like I love it. I think it's great.
I love like what the Kraken has been doing. I wish they had a better team, but I just like love all the stuff they've been doing, like getting JT Brown to like do their color commentary. I love his wife that she constantly roasts him like all the time. So like I think having like a younger guy that's like has been on the ice much kind of more recently is great. I like love what the fish toss, the salmon toss that they did, and the fact that they like actually reached out and like asked like different tribes and stuff to make sure like this wasn't like an issue for them to do this. So like I think they've done great things. They have a lot of like cool younger people working for them, and I think that is probably why. I just wish they had a better team. They just don't have a great team.
We'll give them time.
Yeah, I mean, like I think Vegas broke the whole draft because they kind of like had a stacked team.
Yeah.
But like I just don't feel like they made good choices when they did their draft. Like they could have chose better players in certain like positions, and I think they just went really soft.
The guy that we lost to the draft to them is already back playing for us.
Well, like they could have taken like Carey Price and they didn't, and I don't know why.
I just want to, like you were saying, Danica, about like the young people working for them, and I just want to shout out to Chanel Keenan, who's been doing amazing things with them as well. So
yeah,
she's
good shout out. Okay, who's next? Victoria.
Mine's sad.
That's okay.
It was just like a not a wild moment or anything, but just like a moment that was iconic for me. It was the death of Guy Lafleur, the original Flower.
Totally.
No offense to Marc-Andre Fleury, I love him, but the original, the OG Flower. He because I grew up in Montreal, and he was a little bit before my time, but he was still playing when I got into hockey, and he's just amazing. And he didn't start out amazing, which is really cool when you read up on him. He was a top draft pick, but then like for 3 seasons, he didn't really perform well. And Montreal was actually talking about, after his 3rd season, I think he scored like 21 goals, and they were talking about trading him. They're like, this isn't working out. And then the 4th season, he went over 50 goals. And people say it's because he stopped wearing his helmet, which I don't advise, but he used to wear a helmet and he took it off, and then he just like, he never wore a helmet, and he was just out there scoring and going nuts. And yeah. And Montreal, when they have one of their legend dies, it might as well be like a royal funeral. He's going to be at the Bell Center, and the public can come and pay their respects. And it's like this bit. So I don't know. It's sad, but it's also moving, and it's especially for a city that right now their team could not be worse. It's nice to see the fans have something to honor, because it's not the team. So yeah.
Definitely a legend.
Yeah. Incredible.
I have for sure memories of watching him play when I was a kid too. Okay, what's your story, Stacy?
So this week there have been really adorable pictures of teams and of puppies, and the Columbus Blue Jackets, on their family picture day, there was a picture of, I believe it was the goaltender. It was the goaltender and his wife and a puppy who was sitting in the goal pads. And I was like, that is the most adorable thing ever. There are a whole bunch of different teams who have dogs that are, special, that are trained pups that they have. There are tons of players who love their dogs and show their dogs on Instagram, and it's kind of amazing to watch. Their interactions, if you ever see the interaction between Artemi Panarin and Mr. Risley, it's the most adorable thing on the planet. And Jacob Trouba and Donnie and the new puppy. But I also kind of want to quickly mention something called NYR Shot Club, which is which was something that was started by a bunch of different people. Scott McDonald, guy who tweets under the alias of Immortal Lou, and basically what it is every time the Rangers score, you take a shot of something, whatever it is, and a picture, and then you take a picture of what you're drinking, whatever it is, and you hashtag and tag NYR Shot Club on Twitter. And it is kind of amazing to see the pictures as people take them. It's one of those things that's like a bonding experience with the fan base. It's just a really, really good thing. Like last season was chaotic. I mean, last season was drama beyond all belief. And yet this year, it's a really cool thing to sort of have as we head towards the playoffs. And as I saw this, I was like, this is amazing. I have to shout it out. I actually have a shot glass on the way. For all of my Gatorade, and everything else. But I just wanted to say thank you to the people who created my Shot Club, and I hope that like every fan base has something that's as uniting as that is. So.
Cool. Okay. Danica, did we do you? No,
and mine is like a soap opera. So Evander Kane,
Oh yeah.
I think you know how I feel about him, and had a lot of he's going through a messy divorce. I guess him and Ryan Hartman really hate each other. I didn't know this. Ryan Hartman played for the Flyers for like a year. I wish he stayed like a little bit longer because he seems like a cool guy, but he's with the Wild now, and they went at it in a game, and Ryan Hartman gave him the finger in the game. So he got fined for it. Well, Evander Kane's estranged ex-wife Venmoed him money for the fine, and she put it on her Instagram story. So people started Venmoing Ryan Hartman like for this fine. And he finally was like, I'm going to pay the fine for myself, but all the money you guys are giving me, I'm going to give it to like the Minnesota like Children's Hospital. So like something positive came out of it. Like, yes, he probably shouldn't have done that on national TV, but you know, heat of the moment things, and he can afford the fine. Like, but it was just like, she just did this. She's a little out there. So I think if she had not done that, that would not have happened. Like, people wouldn't have found his Venmo. People wouldn't like.
Yeah.
It was really
Although I
strange.
saw lots of people like tweeting and on Facebook making comments about how probably the best money he's ever spent.
Yeah, so that was just like a what? Like type of thing that happened that you're just like, okay. I mean, I'm not surprised that he went after Kane. I don't think a lot of people like him. Even his own teammates have like straight up said they hate him. So like,
Yeah.
it seems like every place he goes, his teammates don't like him. So there's definitely like a pattern. So yeah, that was just like that's weird, but like good on him for like taking the money that he got and like doing something positive with it. So that was cool. I thought that was cool of him to like, you know, this can go to something that is much needed.
Yeah.
And I love her for doing it. I really do.
Yeah.
I really love the petty of it, like the pettiness of
She has not seen her child in like almost a year because he got temporary custody and he's not, according to her, sending any kind of updates whatsoever. So
What?
yeah, so good
I don't
for her.
know. I
I
mean-
follow her. I follow her.
I don't know, like it seems a mess. Like the whole thing seems very messy. Like I'm not gonna make judgments on either side because I don't know. Like we don't really know them, but yeah, it seems. I mean, I don't like him, so.
Well, I lived in Los Angeles when his ex-girlfriend, he cheated on her and then bought her a billboard on Sunset, which is the most expensive place to buy a billboard in America, to apologize. So I was like, this guy is like out of his mind, like way back then. And and now she's pregnant with his baby. So
So
that's the other
that's
team
why I said.
We
I
could
don't
do a
want-
whole show on Evander Kane.
I don't want the Oilers to win because they have him.
Do you remember there was like, and people got really annoyed with this, where they ran a spot for like NHL TV and it said no soap operas, just hockey.
Yes.
So like when this happened, people were saying that. They're like, no soap operas, just hockey. Which I'm just like, okay, yeah.
So like how many incidents have happened like since they had that? Like the Islanders and Tavares, like
Yeah.
drama.
Right.
There's gonna be
This-
drama.
Like there have been a bunch of them, and like without fail, someone has always mentioned that commercial. So it's
Yeah.
It's like you guys are, I don't know what agency you use, but that was not a good call.
no.
It was clearly like ad execs that have never watched hockey or like read about it because there's always some kind of behind the
Yeah.
scenes drama.
Right. Okay, well, I'm going to be real quick because we are running out of time. But my thing that I wanted to talk about was Trevor Zegras. Again, scores one of those amazing goals, like the lacrosse shot into the net. I watch it and I just go like, I don't know how he did it. But of course, it stirred up more reaction because so later in that game, who comes after him? I can't remember the guy's name. Oh, I've lost my notes. Oh, here it is. Jay Beagle checks Zegras, and then Troy Terry comes in to, I assume, defend Zegras and gets into a huge fight. And Jay Beagle was like, I mean, it was kind of ugly. But then, I mean, that wasn't the whole thing. What really got me was the announcer, the Coyotes announcer, that says afterwards is that that's the problem with these young players. You want to embarrass guys? You want to skill it up? Skill it up. What the hell? You better be prepared to get punched in the mouth. So they're blaming Zegras, or this guy was, and I don't know what the fallout from it was afterwards, but he's like, well, if Zegras is going to pull all these fancy moves, then he better be prepared to get punched, which is absolutely stupid. And it reminded me of like the first time he did that when Tortorella, they were talking to him afterwards about that, and he's like, well, like he's all old school and no, you shouldn't be doing stuff like that. But even Zigor's coach is defending him and saying, like, it's all, people are saying, it's all for attention, and he's just hot dogging it. And his coach is even defending him and saying, well, I might have thought of that at one time too. But when you see the skill that this kind of move takes, and the respect that he has for the game, you have to respect the skill. Like, so I just think we're probably going to see more of these young guys doing stuff like that, and the league's going to have to get used to it, because
I think it will bring more people into the game though, because people are talking about it that aren't hockey fans or whatever. They're like, oh, like, is this what hockey is like? So I don't understand. I think there's like a lot of people that are just like old school, and they just aren't with like the changes of the game.
And they couldn't do that when they played.
Right.
And then I think a lot of the younger guys are coming in and they're more skilled on the ice, as opposed to like back in the day, there would be a guy that's just an enforcer.
Yeah.
And we're kind of phasing that out. So, I think they're just more talented, more skilled, and it's just something that people need to just kind of deal with.
Right. Okay, let's jump to our style report.
Okay. So here we go. I feel like I need to move this because I feel like I can't really see it. Okay. I didn't pick a flyer this month because I'm mad at them basically. So I picked Zach Bogosian, who's from the Bolts. I think I just picked him because he has a really nice beard, honestly.
That's quite a beard.
It's quite a beard. I saw, like, I will screenshot stuff I see, like the NHL Instagram, like so that I have something to pull.
I had a hard time choosing this because there were so many good ones from the Jets in the last few weeks. And I ended up not picking a guy in a suit. So my dude is the bottom left there. So that's Pierre-Luc Dubois. And obviously they're on a trip. He's getting off the plane, not wearing a suit. But I just like, look at that. The t-shirt, the shoulders.
The arm tats.
The arm tats. Exactly. I just thought that was really, really nice. So that's mine.
Who, me? Okay.
Victoria, sure, go.
I picked Carey Price because he's a Montreal Canadian and because he's finally back playing. But also, he does like rodeo stuff in his off time, and there's some like hot mess thing happening here with the cowboy hat, because the suit's great. The cowboy hat kind of doesn't go with it, but it feels like a cowboy fetish at the same time as a hockey fetish, so I'm good with it.
Awesome. So next to Carey Price is Alexis. I can't speak, my dear God. Alexis Lafrenière. He is former first-round draft pick number one draft pick of the New York Rangers. He is amazing. He's coming into his own this year for sure. The game that was taken, he scored a really beautiful goal, and like that's kind of been exciting to watch him do. He's just adorable. Like the look in his face, the smile, the brightness in his eyes. Like the suit's okay, but what makes it for me is that expression on his face, like how joyful and how happy he is. And we were talking about Zegras too earlier, and like that excitement, that joy, that a guy from Briarcliff brings to the league, Bedford, which is not far from where I live, is echoed in that sort of excitement in Lafreniere's eyes. So
I like it.
Okay, Fortune.
Oh yeah, so this is Elias Lindholm. I picked him because he's a Flame and he's like our latest 40 goal scorer. I think we've got at least 2 now, which is awesome and fun. I had to go search I found a suit picture of him pre-COVID. It was like August 19th, 2019 or something. And then everything since then has been like beanies and fish. So this was the latest, and he's still cute in it, so I'm all right with it. But yeah, I think he's going to be my newest Calgary Flames obsession.
Plus, there's a puppy. Like,
And a dog.
Ew.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he's got two.
Yeah, he's got two. One here.
Like,
Look at those puppies.
you know, he's sporting the Henley, the romance,
You know,
romance hero uniform.
True. Awesome. Okay. So we don't have a lot of time left. So we try and talk about books, but one of the things I thought we could quickly talk about, playoffs, I don't know. Some of us have playoff books. The book's not all about playoffs. But I did see an interesting news thing that I thought we could sort of link up to some hockey romance books, and that's Charlie McAvoy dating Mike Sullivan's daughter. It's like a real life hockey romance. Have any of you written a book about dating the coach's daughter?
no.
Dating a coach's daughter? No. I found a few. Elle Kennedy's The Risk. And she's like the daughter of the rival team's coach, which is like kind of
that's
what
even
that
better.
is. Sawyer Bennett has one called Bishop, and Rebecca Jenshake has one called Wildcat. I wrote the team owner's stepdaughter, but I haven't done a coach's daughter.
I haven't done it either. If I do like a next gen series, I have an idea.
Yeah.
So I have an idea. And it's because I wrote a book and there was kids in the book. And I was like thinking about like the kid, and I was like, let me write a paragraph like, about his book. So I have an idea, maybe. I don't know if I read it, but I think it's like a pretty, like I see it a lot. I do really love The Risk. I think that's my favorite from Al.
Victoria, didn't you write one? I can't remember what book it was, but I thought I read one of yours that was, maybe it wasn't the coach's daughter, maybe it was the owner's daughter.
I did. The Slammed had the star player's sister who also worked for the team, so I did that. And then there was, I think that's it. I can't.
Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
But was her dad a player?
Oh yeah, no, I had, right, my God, Winning It All. Her dad was a retired player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and he was a total jerk to her mom and a cheater, and so she didn't want anything to do with hockey players. Yeah.
So
Okay.
much conflict.
So who has a book to pimp this month? New release coming soon. Anything you want to mention, Stacy?
I am, as I said, I am currently in between. So as we wait for my retired hockey player in the Benny Mixon Estate coming June 2023, I'm taking it back to my Empire series with Isabel Kelly, and in this one, Kenzie McLear. When we're talking about siblings, my story in Icing the Puck has a hockey player's younger sister who is a violinist, and the hero is a rookie who is half French Canadian, half Parisian, who is like a Stu Bickle type player from back in the day, where he's both an offense and he plays both offense and defense. So an interesting sort of cross section of stuff, but there we go. That is the cover.
That is nice. Okay. I'll go next just to get it done because I need to get ready to finish. Here's my latest release. I'm trying to get it out of the light and into the camera in front of my face. There. Good Hands. It came out last week. Next in my Bears hockey series. It's an accidental pregnancy, fling, one night stand gone wrong or right. Danica?
So I have a non-hockey book coming out. I can share the covers. So this is the second book in my brewery series, small town series. This one's actually mostly set in the Poconos. So they basically, her sister and her boss like meddle, and basically they end up at her dad's cabin at the same time. And she wants to like leave right away when she sees him, and he's like, no, like at least stay the night. And they end up like sharing the cabin for a week, and things happen. They had already slept with each other before each other, so she like already kind of has some animosity towards him even before that. So it's enemies to lovers again. But they're both bisexual too, so there's a little bit of LGBTQ
They're both bisexual?
rep in it. They're both bisexual. So that was fun for me to write. And that comes out July 19th. My next hockey book is the fourth book in the Bulldogs, called The Chase. That comes out September 1st. This one is he's kind of a reformed playboy, and he's kind of chasing her a little bit because she's a little bit reluctant. She has some mental health issues, and he kind of helps her with that a little bit. And he kind of has to convince her that they should be together. So that's what I got.
Fortune?
Well, Stuck With You came out 2 weeks ago, so that one's out in the world now.
Yay,
And
congrats.
then we've got Retired Hockey Player and a nurse, both very the paparazzi love them, is what's happening. So the second book in that series is gone to the printer. It's called One Night With You. That one comes out July 26th, so right after Danica's. And that's Clark's oldest brother, who is a playboy, and the mayor of the small town they live in, Jeremy, get together after a one-night stand, and then they find themselves on different sides of the boardroom. So watch out for that one.
Yay. Victoria?
I have a non-hockey book coming out Friday, and I can't share my screen because I can't figure that out, but I don't know if you can see that. It's called The Spring We Ignited. It's the third book in my Ocean Pine series, and one of the secondary characters is a hockey player, because I was like, I'm going to write something non-hockey, and somehow this hockey player has evolved into a very
Just got in there.
I can't get away. And it's basically a girl whose husband has left her, and she works at his family's restaurant, and she, it's a small town, so there's all this drama that he disappeared, took off on her, whatever. And she wins, or he had won this vacation for the two of them, and his brother steps in and says, I'll pretend to be him and be your fake husband and go on vacation with you. And
Fun.
yeah, get it off. So yeah.
Yay. Okay, we're done. We're over time. Holy moly. We thank you, Victoria, for joining us tonight again. It was so fun to have a guest. And nice to get to know you a little bit better. Melanie, we miss you. We'll see you next time. When will our next one be? Probably May 22nd, I think. Would that be right?
I think so.
Okay. And as usual, we'll mention in the comments the books that we mentioned, all of us. And thanks to anyone who's watching live or watching the replay. Thanks so much, and we'll see you again next time.